Servers at restaurants. What's the strangest thing someone's asked for? Had someone visibly offended that their glass of wine didn't have ice? After I get her a mug of ice to pour it over, she asked for sugar packets which she stirred into it. She still wasn't enjoying it and offered to get her a soft drink instead. She gladly let me swap it for some lemonade. Once had a dude order a large garden salad, looked me dead ass in the eyes and very seriously said, "No purple in it," and I just acted like yeah sure okay with no follow-up questions. Ended up picking out anything purple colored in the salad and very nervously watched him pick through it. Was satisfied enough and left a decent tip. I can never unsee purple things in my salad now, but I eat 'em. Once a very thin, middle-aged woman came in. She couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds soaking wet. She asked what our biggest steak was. I told her it was the 24 ounces, ribeye. She said, "Okay, I'll have that." Our steaks came with 2 sides, so I asked which ones she'd like. She said, "I don't want sides." I told her they were included in the price, and she still refused them. I bring out her steak and she begins eating. She's about a third of the way through when I ask, "How is everything?" She says, "Great. Bring me another steak." I say, "Is there anything wrong with that one?" She says, "No, it's great. I want a second one." I go back to the chef and tell him, and he couldn't believe it. But we served her another steak. She ate all 48 ounces of steak and left me a $40 tip. A tablecloth. A gentleman shat himself at a booth and asked for a tablecloth so he could walk out with it wrapped around him. I still serve him to this day, and that was around 15 years ago, no shame. Back he comes once a week. We never asked about getting the tablecloth back. A middle-aged lady insisted she didn't like soda water or sparkling water, so instead asked for a white wine spritzer without the white wine. There are 2 ingredients to a white wine spritzer: white wine and soda water. We had a woman send a grilled chicken salad back because it was cold. So we cooked some new chicken and made sure to send it back while still warm. She sent it back again. The entire salad wasn't hot enough for her. We microwaved her salad. She ate it. I don't know, man. Honestly, I'd say the weirdest thing was that while I was a server at a restaurant in the Royal Hawaiian, a guest asked me to book a shark adventure tour. It had nothing to do with my job or even the hotel. Those tours were entirely separate businesses. I took his black card, went to guest services, picked up a pamphlet, and booked the tour. He tipped me $250. Totally worth it. I had this couple come in with their own tea set. The man asked me if had a few minutes to learn a few things. They were the second table sat, so I humored him. He showed me a very specific way of steeping and pouring the tea over a sugar cube and had me try it a couple times with water. The whole thing was sort of neat. He then asked if I would mind serving them their tea this very particular way. They were super kind, even tough. The man had sort of an intense vibe to him. I filled the pot with hot water, carried it out like he showed me, and poured their cups of tea exactly how he showed me. He seemed extra pleased but never said a word or even looked at me. It was no problem and I felt super fancy doing it. I did refill their tea one time while they were there, and he also asked that I keep his wife's water glass full at all times. I knew it was going to be a good table when the first time I came by and refilled her water glass and inquired if they needed any more tea. The man handed me $20 and sort of dismissed me. He did it twice more that afternoon. At the end they paid with no tip, I thought, but $60 and a cool lesson was enough for me. My manager found me about an hour later and handed me an envelope and said they told him they only will come in when I am working from now on. The envelope had $100, business card, and handwritten thank you note. Apparently they had put this request up for many fine dining places and I was the only to get it right and do it graciously. It was very odd, because after the first lesson they treated me as if I was almost invisible, backed up by the fact they didn't tip me in person. On every return trip it was the same. If you didn't know the deal they would seem like cold assholes, but they tipped really well and I treated them like VIPs every time. Years ago I worked at this amazing Breton French creperie in San Francisco, phenomenal food with a pretty small menu. Guy comes in and orders a sweet crepe with vanilla ice cream. No biggie. Then he wants to add a sunny side up egg and parsley to this crepe. I ask him a number of times if he's sure he knows what he's getting and that it's not two separate crepes, one sweet and one savory. He assures me. Of course, when I ring it in, the kitchen thinks I made a mistake, to which I assure them it's not a mistake. I bring out said vanilla ice cream with sunny side up egg crepe and the client devours it. Weird. Flava Flav came into the restaurant I worked at. It was a fancy seafood place. He ordered just a plate of cucumbers for himself. Everyone else at his table ordered normal things. I'm guessing he maybe doesn't like seafood? Hilarious. Yes, he wore a giant clock chain and he let the staff take pics with him as he said, Flava Flav. Really nice guy. I used to work at Olive Garden. There was a lady that would come in at least once a week and she was dubbed by us staff as Pepperoncini Lady. She would want you to open a new bag of the pepperoncinis we used in the salads and pour out the juice in a cup. She would literally straight up drink the juice. She would also get a bowl of pepperoncinis and just eat them. Guy came in with a large group, must have had a recent surgery or something cause he asked for his meal to be blended. He ordered a lasagna. The place I worked at had little water cups on the table and we kept them filled for customers. I sat a party of 2 women, who said they were waiting for a third person and went to fill their water cups. When I asked if I should fill the third one or wait for the third person to arrive, one woman said, "Oh, no need, he's trying to quit." I thought it was a joke, and when the third person, a man, got there, I went to fill his water. He said, "No, don't fill it, I'm trying to quit water." In college, I worked at a burrito shop on campus. One night, this guy who was stoned out of his mind ordered a burrito with everything on it: 3x salsa, sour cream, extra beans, meat, rice, everything. I could barely wrap the burrito. He walks over and sits at a table and takes one bite and all the burrito contents shot out the bottom. He just went, "Oh no," and then just started eating it out of his lap and off the table. It was entertaining to watch. I once had a woman order a glass of red wine with a side of creamer. I actually didn't think much of it at first, but when I brought them to her, she proceeded to pour the cream into the glass of wine. I told her I've never seen that before. She said, "You've got to try it." I'm not going to try it. Chicken is vegetarian. Lady orders pizza with chicken for the table. Rest of the table argued with her that they're vegetarians. She can have chicken on her own pizza with chicken. She replied chicken is vegetarian. Refused to understand that her friends were trying to get a vegetarian meal. I was at a salad bar and a lady put lettuce on her plate and then covered it in ice. She ate it with a fork, attempting to stab the ice like croutons. No one else seemed to notice. She was chatting with the staff like any regular would. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. Someone once ordered a veggie quesadilla from me, and after I brought it out and checked on them to make sure everything came out all right, the person said, "Excuse me, I have a dairy allergy and I can't eat this. Why would you sell me something with cheese on it?" She did not inform me she had a dairy allergy and ended up ordering a veggie quesadilla no cheese, so just sautéed peppers and onion on a large dry tortilla. Not a server, but my grandma would bring in her own bread to restaurants and ask them to toast it as a side for her breakfast. Edit. I never really asked her about the bread, but I believe it was some store-bought, multigrain style of bread. She'd bring it in a Ziploc bag. It definitely wasn't an allergy thing, and I don't think it was a saving money thing either. She wasn't the Great Depression type. She was a character straight out of Mad Men, Mrs. Maisel. She was never told no, but to be honest, she may have only done it at places she was a regular at. Typically, when we visited my grandparents, we always went to the same restaurants. My clearest memory of her doing this is at a place we always had breakfast at the morning before we left. An old man once asked me for a damp napkin to clean his glasses. Although an odd request at a restaurant, I ran a napkin under water and came back to give it to him. He then asked why I was giving him a wet napkin. I have had absurd experiences with other types of jobs, but none more than in the restaurant industry. There was a lady who appeared to be a little older but looked like she took care of herself and had some plastic surgery done to her face. She asked me for a Coke Zero with extra Splenda on the side. I brought out a few packets, but she asked me for a bowl of the sweetener. I then watched her tear open packet after packet to add to her diet soda. After she left, I counted how many she used: 16. For a 16 ounces soda. I replicated the drink to try with my coworkers on shift, just to see what she was thinking. I was trying to slurp a solid through my straw. I then decided maybe it wasn't Botox but lots of preservatives that made her appear more youthful. Lol. I work somewhere that sells Macallan 25. It's a 25-year aged scotch that is $350 for a 2 ounces pour. We don't sell it often, just for the occasional high roller. Someone asked for 2 shots of it mixed with Diet Coke one night. The bartender died inside pouring it for them, but a $700 tab is a $700 tab. We aren't in the business of telling you not to spend money. I worked in an Italian place at the height of the Atkins diet craze. We had someone order a personal pizza, to go, no crust, along with some other stuff for their family. My kitchen manager thought quick. Took a piece of foil, built the pizza on top of it, sans crust, and ran it through the oven. We boxed it up and sent it out with the rest of the order. I never heard back from them, and to this day I'm still not sure if it was a genuine request or someone's idea of a joke. Either way, I don't really care. I had a regular that would eat an entree-size plate of pepperoncini for lunch. That's it with some soda water. He would take a bite, then pour the juice in his soda water. He had to eat like 40 or 50 every time he came in. Shot of Fireball, plus hot sauce in a double-shot glass. I thought it would be way too much. A half Oz of hot sauce just shot back? So the guy ordered it many a time, and eventually I asked him about it. He told me to try it, which I refused. Not a fan of spicy stuff. He repeatedly told me that it wasn't spicy. Of course I didn't believe him. The thing was like 1/3 hot sauce. He was clearly trying to prank someone who didn't like spicy stuff. Anyhow, after a year of us going back and forth about it, I finally lamented when he told me he would tip me $20 to take the shot. So I did. Crazy how it's not hot at all. Like it's less spicy than normal Fireball. Worked at Bob Evans 20 years ago and there were a few. Parsley woman. She would order a glass of milk and a large soup bowl full of parsley and eat it. No salad dressing or anything, just straight parsley. Apple pie woman. She would order a piece of apple pie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on it, but the pie was almost never hot enough. We finally figured out how to make her happy. Instead of microwaving the piece of pie for 1.5 minutes, you'd microwave it for 7 minutes. Fan lady. Not food related, but the lady would come in every Sunday morning, our busiest time of the week, and demand that the speed of the fans for the whole restaurant be slowed down. She claimed she had a medical condition and got away with it for 2 months. This stopped when one of the managers determined they also had a medical condition, but it required the fans to be left on at normal speed. This made fan lady very mad and never came back. Deep fried bacon guy. No complaint really, turns out deep fried bacon is delicious. Former Subway sandwich artist here. A guy wanted a foot-long turkey sandwich and for me to put tomatoes on it, but to cut each tomato slice into quarters and for the round edges to face the hinge of the bread and the right angle points to face the outside of the bread. The white American triangle cheese pieces needed to be split in half and those smaller triangles needed to be put between certain slices of turkey to supposedly fill in the triangle gaps of the quartered tomatoes when it closed. I apparently didn't figure it out perfectly by his standards because he started screaming at me and knocked over some stuff. I honestly couldn't care less whatever issue he had, F that guy. I remember being surprised in that moment that I'm actually involved in an interaction this ridiculous. I used to work at a Japanese restaurant and I once had someone come up to me and ask me if we had any low-sodium soy sauce. The request itself was not so strange and I gave him the bottle we kept behind the counter. The strange thing was what he used the soy sauce for, which was pouring some of it into his Pepsi. I'm not a server, but one time I was in line at a Subway. The guy in front of me ordered a cold cut combo, which I think is just a bologna sandwich. Starting normal. But he follows up with, and add meatballs to that. The girl making it paused for a second, but pushed through. But then she did what her job demanded. She asked what kind of cheese he wanted. The man looked her right in the eyes, didn't hesitate and says, cottage. The sandwich artist looked at him and just said, no. To this day, I have no idea if she said no because they didn't have cottage cheese or because she was too disgusted to make it. But that one word, no, sent me into a fit of laughter and I had to leave the line. I used to work at a family restaurant and we had this regular we called the iced tea guy. He would come in and order a meal with iced tea and the iced tea was always refillable. Long story short, everyone knew after his meal was done he would camp, stay for a long time, and continue to ask for refills of the iced tea. Iced tea guy would then ask permission to get up and go to the restroom. And if you said no, he would give you $5 each time. In retrospect, I think it was some sort kink dom shit. It started getting weird lol. Eventually, he wasn't allowed back because of a certain situation. Iced tea guy was in my station one day for a couple hours and he had a new request for me. Iced tea guy wanted me to choose a piece of pie for him to eat with his hands, but he wanted to do it with shoes on his hands. He asked me to help him buckle the straps on a pair of Mary Janes he busted out of a backpack and put on each hand. So then he ate a piece of Dutch apple pie a la mode with the shoes that were buckled on his hands. Anyways, he wasn't allowed back after that day and I never saw him again. That's my story of the strangest thing someone has ever asked me for when I was a server. Kind of the inverse, but a lady ordered a charcuterie board and when it arrived, with disgust, she asked me to take it away because it had meat on it. I carefully explained that the ingredients were listed in the menu and that the meat was somewhat implied by the name of the dish. She remained unfazed and I returned the board to the kitchen. That was fun. I worked at a country club in high school and with your meal you received a salad. I asked what dressing she'd like and proceeded to name 15 dressings we had. She told me they all sound delicious, she will have them all on the salad. I initially thought she meant ramekins of each of the dressings, but she said no, she wanted them all on the physical salad. I proceeded to bring a salad with 15 dollops of dressing on it, ranging from vinaigrettes, honey mustard, Chinese peanut dressing, raspberry dressing, ranch, blue cheese, and others. I watched her from the server station then mix the salad with all the dressings and each every bite of the salad then used the bread to clean the leftover dressing on the plate. By far the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. There is no way that combination would taste good.